The movie starts with a scene in a large villa in the Wannsee area of Berlin. We see maids cleaning and setting up the rooms, preparing for a meeting. High-ranking Nazi officials and military officers start arriving at the villa. They are greeted and escorted inside. The arrival of Nazi officials continues at the villa, with each one greeting the others with the customary Heil Hitler salute. While the arriving officials are eating and drinking, Luther approaches Eichmann with a memorandum of recommendations. Eichmann suggests that the memorandum might help maintain harmony between the Gestapo and the Foreign Office. Eichmann acknowledges the document and assures Luther that he will review its contents. Dr. Stuckart arrives at the villa. Another official, Neumann, recognizes Dr. Stuckart, expresses flattery that Stuckart remembers him. Dr. Stuckart responds, indicating that he does remember Neumann. Dr. Kritzinger arrives at the villa and is greeted by other officials. Dr. Stuckart approached Dr. Kritzinger, and the officials briefly discuss the current situation on the Eastern Front, mentioning a counterattack and the movement of troops. The conversation turns to General Reichenau, with Neumann mentioning that he has got the troops moving. Dr. Kritzinger reveals that Reichenau is dead. Dr. Klopfer arrives and asks if Colonel Eichmann was there. The butler told him that Eichmann is there. Klopfer instructs someone to inform Eichmann that he has arrived. General Heydrich has arrived at the villa for the meeting. He expressed his admiration for the house. He asks if everything is ready for the meeting. Heydrich mentions his plans for the house after the war, indicating his intention to make it his home. In order to focus on the meeting, Heydrich banned the Heil Hitler salute till the end of the meeting. He asks everyone to introduce themselves to newcomers, and all of them start introducing themselves. Each official introduces themselves, stating their name and position. Heydrich informs the participants that they have been given confidential papers, which are not to be copied or shared with anyone other than their superiors. He told them the importance of secrecy in their discussions and decisions. He appoints Lieutenant Colonel Eichmann as the focal point for all communications regarding Jewish matters, emphasizing the need for a centralized flow of information. Heydrich outlines the problem of the Jewish population in Germany, mentioning past efforts to expel Jews from all aspects of German life, including the laws enacted at Nuremberg, giving the credit for Dr. Stuckart. He mentioned that the previous policy of encouraging emigration has reached its limits because other countries are either rejecting Jewish refugees or asking high costs for accepting them. Eichmann suggested America, and Heydrich said that even America, where he claims Jews have influence with President Roosevelt, is turning away Jewish refugees. He highlights the issue of the growing Jewish population in the territories occupied by Germany, particularly noting the acquisition of 2.5 million Jews in Poland and the expected acquisition of an additional 5 million Jews as they conquer Russia. Dr. Kritzinger started asking by saying that the Jewish question falls within the responsibilities of his department, but Heydrich interrupts, reminding him that the relevant document is in his folder. Heydrich then provides an update on the current situation, noting that the German military is stalled in Russia and that the Americans have entered the war, both of which are putting additional strain on Germany's resources. He states that the policy of encouraging Jewish emigration is no longer viable and that the attendees of the meeting will discuss the inevitable solution to the Jewish question. Dr. Kritzinger got up from his seat and went to the window and started looking outside while Heydrich kept on talking about a document that lists the remaining Jewish population by country in Europe and the USSR, indicating that the immigration policy will be stopped. A call comes for General Heydrich that there is a phone call for him. Heydrich instructs the guy to see who it is and to end all calls for the duration of the meeting. Eichmann takes the call and explains to the caller that General Heydrich cannot be disturbed at this time. Eichmann suggests that the caller contact Heydrich's office directly. After ending the call, Eichmann declares that the meeting is not officially taking place and instructs that no phone calls are to be taken for anyone at the meeting, except for a call from the Führer, which is unlikely. Heydrich mentions the fate of Field Marshal Reichenau, who died after being strapped to a chair on a plane, contrasting it with another general who received a medal. The conversation shifts to the policy of evacuation, which is to replace emigration. The exact meaning and destination of evacuation are left ambiguous, with dark hints about the fate of the Jews. Dr. Kritzinger interrupted, mentioning that they have received assurances about the livable conditions for Jews, but Heydrich postpones this topic. Heydrich then provides numbers of Jews remaining in various territories, highlighting the vast scale of the so-called Jewish problem. Dr. Kritzinger Kritzinger questions the practicality of Heydrich's plan, pointing out that it does not align with the previously promised livable conditions for the Jewish people. He criticizes the plan as being fanciful, highlighting the discrepancy between the occupational backgrounds of the Jewish population and the manual labor involved in road building. Heydrich acknowledges that many Jews will not survive the forced labor, referring to casualties eliminated by natural causes. He declares the intention to comb Europe from west to east, starting with the protectorates of Bohemia and Moravia, to evacuate Jews to transit ghettos before transporting them further east. Buhler tried to raise a question, but Heydrich stopped him, saying he will be given a chance to talk. Jews over 65 years old will be relocated to old-age ghettos, such as possibly Theresienstadt, where they will be left to die naturally. Severely wounded Jewish veterans, including those awarded the Iron Cross First Class, will also be sent to these ghettos, as the Nazis plan to disregard their military honors. Heydrich argues that making exceptions would lead to too many requests for exemptions, so all these individuals will be treated the same under the plan. Doctor suggests a more drastic intervention to prevent Jewish procreation, hinting at sterilization or castration. He disagreed with the idea of granting privileges to certain Jews, arguing it complicates their plans and the party chancellery's interests and authority in deciding Jewish matters, referencing Martin Bormann's influence. Heydrich said that everyone's point of view would be heard. Then, Heydrich turns to and uses a metaphor by comparing the situation to a two-headed animal, suggesting that such a creature cannot survive, implying that conflicting authorities or decisions within the Nazi hierarchy are unsustainable. Heydrich clarifies that their intention is not to dominate or dismiss anyone's concerns, but rather the opposite. Heydrich asks if there is anyone else who wants to raise the question. He states that he has been tasked with freeing Germany and all of Europe from what he calls the Jewish stranglehold, expressing confidence that they will achieve this goal together. Then everyone except Dr. Friedrich starts tapping the table in agreement. Heydrich proposes that an expert from the Foreign Ministry act as a liaison to the SS security police in each country to facilitate this plan. He expresses his reliance on the Foreign Ministry as a link in implementing their strategy. Heydrich invites comments and questions from the attendees, indicating a desire for discussion and collaboration. Klopfer whispered to Lange, saying Heydrich might have some Jew blood as a joke, and Lange dismissed it, telling him to ask him. Dr. Stuckart questions the accuracy of the numbers being discussed, suggesting that they are misleading. He raises the issue of defining who is considered a Jew, implying that the population is not homogeneous or uniform. Klopfer asks Eichmann how he is able to speak Hebrew. Eichmann explains that he lived and worked among Jews, picking up a few words of their language, but not enough to speak fluently. He sought out a rabbi to teach him, noting that rabbi means teacher. Eichmann remembers his attempt to learn Hebrew from a rabbi, expressing frustration at the lack of effort by other officers to understand Jews. He paid for lessons himself after being denied funds, and later regretted not arresting the rabbi for free lessons. Eichmann finds it stupid that the rabbi, who was eventually deported, didn't realize he would have protected him. They all got back to the meeting to continue the meeting. They express skepticism about Italy's reliability and plan to intervene if necessary. They note that France, even in unoccupied areas, will comply with deporting Jews. The Foreign Ministry is concerned about moving too quickly with evacuations in Scandinavia due to troop needs in Russia. Hoffmann informs Heydrich that the Race and Settlement Main Office plans to send an expert to Hungary to orientate on Nazi policies, suggesting this should coincide with Heydrich's advisor's visit. Heydrich emphasizes the strength of their policies, likening it to an iron glove, and insists there should be no confusion about where policy originates. Hoffmann hopes for the maintenance of established relationships, provided they are productive. Heydrich asserts his authority, suggesting Hoffmann's advisor serve as an assistant to his expert, preserving the power dynamics of their offices. Heydrich acknowledges a complex issue and suggests a solution, emphasizing that their actions must be based on the Nuremberg laws introduced by Dr. Stuckart, with a focus on examining laws related to mixed marriages and individuals of mixed blood. Dr. Stuckart elaborates on the challenge of defining who is a Jew and how to systematically remove Jews from society, government, and the economy through legal ordinances. Heydrich told him that there have been communications with the head of the Reich Chancellery, Lammers, who has likely discussed these issues with Hitler, indicating the high-level involvement in these policy decisions. Then Heydrich turns to Dr. Kritzinger and acknowledges that Dr. Kritzinger is present as a representative of Lammers, who has met with Hitler or his staff to reach an understanding on these matters. Heydrich also expresses interest in hearing Dr. Kritzinger's own opinion. He wants to reach a further understanding at the meeting, proposing that mixed-blood individuals with two Jewish grandparents, half-Jews, should be considered as Jews and be subject to the same measures. Heydrich outlines the current exception exceptions in the law for mixed-blood individuals and suggests re-examining individual cases to potentially revoke their exemptions. The discussion highlights the Nazi regime's focus on racial purity and the complex legal framework they developed to categorize and segregate individuals based on their ancestry. Lange is confused about the word evacuation. He says he already evacuated 30,000 Jews by shooting them at Riga. He asks if evacuation is the right word for what he did. He also says there are 20,000 more Jews waiting for the same thing. Lange's words show how the Nazis use softer words to describe harsh actions. He wants to understand what these words really mean. Dr. Kritzinger started tapping the table. Heydrich insists that in his opinion, the Jews are indeed evacuated through the actions taken. However, Dr. Kritzinger objects, stating that this interpretation contradicts what the Chancellery has been told. He mentions that he has been assured that while the Jews are to be purged, the idea of systematically annihilating all Jews in Europe has been personally denied to him by Hitler. Heydrich responds cryptically, suggesting that Hitler will continue to deny the systematic annihilation of the Jews. Dr. Kritzinger got up from the table. Then Heydrich apologized. Heydrich states mixed-blood individuals in the first degree will be sterilized to prevent future generations of mixed blood. He dismisses the idea of decent Jews, emphasizing that Jews are Jews regardless of perceived decency. Dr. Stuckart expresses concerns about the workability of the plan and its adherence to the legal code, suggesting a modification to give mixed-blood individuals a choice between sterilization and evacuation. The discussion covers the practicalities of sterilization, including methods and the impact on labor capacity. The conversation touches on the challenges of managing the legal and social repercussions of their policies, including marriage laws and inheritance. The scene concludes with a debate over the treatment of Jews married to Germans and the broader goal of making Germany Jew-free. The meeting continues discussing different matters, then they all got up for lunch. After the lunch break, the meeting would continue with further discussions and debates among the Nazi officials. They would go deeper into the logistics and implementation of the final solution, covering topics such as transportation, concentration camps, and the coordination between different government departments and agencies. The meeting concludes with all officials agreeing to cooperate in the implementation of the final solution. Heydrich thanks them for their participation and commitment. When they go out, they see soldiers playing with snowballs. Eichmann went to one of them and slapped him for doing that in uniform. Eichmann told the secretary to leave all the tapes there. Soldiers announced the arrival of cars for Dr. Stuckart and General Hoffmann as they prepare to leave. Dr. Stuckart and a soldier discuss the night and the possibility of seeing dawn again, hinting at the dark times ahead. General Hoffmann and another official talk about the prioritization of ghettos being emptied and bureaucratic challenges, with Hoffmann asserting that Germany will be cleansed first. The officials left the villa. Heydrich and Eichmann have a final conversation about the meeting's outcomes and Eichmann's role in editing the conference record. Colonel Eichmann carefully edits the stenographic record of the conference, ensuring that 30 numbered copies are distributed to the participants to be read and then destroyed, with no other records kept. General Heydrich returns to his headquarters in Czechoslovakia, where he soon earns the nickname the Butcher of Prague due to his brutal actions. In the spring, 2 Czech patriots trained by the British successfully wound Heydrich in an assassination attempt. In reprisal, thousands of Czechs are rounded up and shot. Heydrich's wounds become infected, leading to a coma and his eventual death. Eichmann is left to finish what they began at Wannsee, considering it a matter of honor, committing himself to the completion of their genocidal mission. And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our video. Watch the next recaps on the screen and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing recaps. See you in the next one.